you ever used one of these before? I have, and almost everyone else in the world has too, and I'll admit it. They feel pretty good. But let's talk about how effective using a foam roller actually is. I see this conversation going in one of two different ways. One is using a foam roller in the gym as a warm-up technique / feels good to do when you're not lifting. And the second way is using a foam roller as a rehab strategy. Luckily for us, I have my friend Michael Mash from Barbell Rehab. He's gonna help us break this topic down from someone being in pain or going through an injury. Michael has his doctorate of physical therapy, he's an avid lifter himself and travels around teaching continuing education courses on all things barbell training and rehabilitation through his company Barbell Rehab. So I think he's gonna be the perfect guy to help me break down this topic. So let's get into it. What is a foam roller? Well, it's basically exactly what it sounds like. It's a piece of foam, it's cylinder shaped, and people roll on it. But nowadays they have ones with bumps, spikes coming at it, and ones that even vibrate, heat up, do your taxes. I mean, it's getting a little crazy what people are coming up with. Not to mention everyone's favorite lacrosse ball, softball, PVC pipe, or whatever else you can find yourself rolling on. For the concepts that we're gonna be discussing in this video, we're gonna lump all of these up into one. So when we say foam roller, you can apply this concept to all of these pieces of equipment, okay? Run this scenario through your head. You just hit a hard squat workout yesterday and you're kind of sore, but you walk into the gym and you realize you're supposed to deadlift today. You think to yourself, how am I going to be able to deadlift today? I can barely walk. So you weigh out your options and come to the conclusion that the only logical thing that makes sense, I have to roll the soreness out of my legs. Is foam rolling your best option in this scenario? Can you even roll the soreness out of your body? The answer's not really, and let me explain. Foam rolling is a passive modality. By that, I mean that other than the aspect of you physically rolling on it, the idea is that the foam is digging into you and doing the work on you. But when you walk into the gym for a training session, you're preparing for an active activity. As in, when you train, you are actively doing all the work. The weight isn't moving itself. So in my opinion, if you're getting ready for an active activity, then the most efficient and effective way to do that is with an active warm-up. For example, take a look at this study. They looked at cyclists and compared their hamstring stiffness, both how stiff they perceived their hamstrings to be and actually how much range of motion their hamstrings had, before and after a couple of different warm-up strategies. Side note, after a tough training session, those are the two big things that people complain about when they say, I'm so sore, I feel so tight. And sometimes their actual range of motion is decreased too. Okay, back to the study. So they took the cyclists and broke them up into 4 different groups that each performed a different warm-up strategy. One group warmed up strictly with a foam roller. One group jumped on the bike, and another group did a mixture of both foam rolling and biking. And finally, there was a control group that just didn't do anything. They gathered feedback from the cyclists after 5 minutes and 30 minutes of doing their warm-up strategy. Yeah, I don't think your warm-up should take 30 minutes, especially on a foam roller, but that's a different conversation. What they found was that the group that did both foam rolling and cycling had very similar results to the group that just did cycling as their warm-up. So if you had 2 groups that had similar outcomes and both groups had one thing in common, it's not hard to understand that the cycling aspect of both groups was probably playing the bigger role in getting them warmed up. And that's what the results of this study found too. That foam rolling on its own didn't really bring any benefit to someone when compared to an active warm-up approach. The second argument you hear people say is, well, it helps my mobility and range of motion. Okay, that actually might be a valid argument. Let's take a look at that. There seems to be some evidence that shows some benefits to foam rolling when it comes to increasing range of motion. But I don't know if that's anything special with the foam rolling. Hear me out. If you walk into the gym and haven't done anything yet, you're cold, and you probably don't have the same mobility and flexibility as you would when you start to move around and warm up. So are there flexibility or mobility or range of motion benefits from foam rolling? Yes, I think it comes from someone being cold and then they start to roll around on a foam roller and they warm up. That's it. This same effect can happen from doing almost any other movement too. So I don't think there's anything special about the foam roller in that aspect. Now let's get into the juicy part of this conversation. Yo, Dr. Mash, are foam rollers breaking up my scar tissue? If I'm in pain, should I just roll it out?
Oh, hey guys, Dr. Michael Mash. Thanks for having me on, Mark. Today we're going to talk about whether or not foam rolling can deform fascia. And to answer this question, we're going to reference a study from Chowdhury et al. in 2008. on this mechanical model, these authors found that it took 9,000 newtons of force to deform the ITB fascia by 1%. That's your IT band. And 4,500 newtons of force to deform the plantar fascia by 1%. That's about 2,000 and 1,000 pounds respectively. So that is a lot of force to just deform fascia by 1%. So if it takes that much force to deform fascia, do you really think it's capable of doing that with a foam roller? Probably not. So you're not going to deform fascia unless you have a scalpel or a steam roller. That being said, that does not mean that foam rolling doesn't work to immediately reduce the perception of tightness. But it's not working because you're deforming fascia. It's working more or less because you're changing the nervous system's perception of tightness. The problem with believing that foam rolling can deform fascia is that it promotes this idea of fragility. Think about it. Boy, if a couple passes on a foam roller is able to change our structures, you would be crumbling under a loaded squat or a loaded barbell. You would just be crumbling underneath it. So we don't want to portray this idea that a foam roller can deform fascia because that promotes fragility. And the problem with it is that this foam rolling becomes very, very addictive very quickly because your body needs more and more of an aggressive stimulus to get the same effect. It starts like this, the foam rolling trap. First you need 5 minutes to loosen up. Then by the time you keep going, you need 20 to 30 minutes of foam rolling just to get the same desired response. Once that's no longer working, then you switch to a PVC pipe, more aggressive stimulus. And then when that doesn't work, you find yourself rolling for 30 minutes on a spiky rumble roller just to get a little bit of decreased tightness. So the body can only be tricked for so long. And that's why we don't want to portray this idea that we're foam rolling to deform fascia or to release trigger points. It's more or less just changing the nervous system's perspective of tightness. Back to you, Mark.
Damn, Michael Mash dropping some knowledge bombs. Whenever someone asks me if they should do something in the gym or use a certain modality, one thing I stress to them is to think about the risk versus the reward of that activity. When it comes to foam rolling, there aren't too many risks. You're not increasing your chances of getting injured or putting yourself in a harmful situation, so if you enjoy doing it, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Now, if you're going to foam roll, here are a couple things that I want to make sure you get right. First off, drop the narratives of, I'm breaking up scar tissue. I'm rolling out the soreness. Because we talked about it earlier, they aren't true, and I think a lot of these passive modalities people use in the gym, the trouble comes when they build up these false narratives of what it's actually doing to them instead of just saying, kind of feels good, and going from there. Secondly, if you're gonna foam roll, there's no reason to hit one body part for longer than 90 seconds because at that point, you've gotten the potential range of motion benefits, and now if you just keep at it, you're just wasting your time. So there you have it. Foam rollers are everywhere, and they're not the worst thing in the world, but they don't do exactly what everyone portrays them to do. So take this information and run with it. If you decide you don't want to foam roll anymore, great. You can use that time to do more active activities that might be more specific to your goals. Or if you decide, hey, I enjoy foam rolling, but I'm gonna shift my narrative to why I'm using it, that's a win too.